This is what happens when you run your mouth and tell everybody how good of an air compressor you have. The motor went to dead short, so we went ahead and stripped the motor off. We went inside, looked on the internet. A new motor to replace that one is anywhere from, I'll say $300 to $500 to replace it. And rather than put $300 to $500 into a motor, I know what that air compressor's been through in its lifetime. We just went ahead and stripped that off of the old air compressor, and then we cut the bracket off the top of it. My old air compressor was a 45-gallon air compressor, and after I stripped this top off of that tank, I thought, I know what that looks like. That looks like a Minion. So yeah, we're gonna convert this into a Minion storage tank, and I've already had it in position. I have a hose made up that goes from here over to there. We're just gonna put that tank in the corner for storage. This is an 80-gallon. That was a 45-gallon. That one put out 10.1 CFM at 90 PSI. This one here puts out 15.3 at 90 PSI. So I'll have a total of 125 gallons of air storage. The only thing that kind of scares me, this one had a max pressure of 135. The tank says that it will hold 170 at 650 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't think we're going to heat that tank anywhere close to 650, so I'm hoping that at 175 PSI we'll be fine. This thing pretty much sits at 160 PSI when it shuts off. But yeah, we got a new air compressor, and we're just going to use this as storage. But after I stripped everything off of it, I said, man, I know what that looks like. That looks like a Minion. So now we're going to convert that into a Minion. After I got done cutting that bracket off, we just took and ground down those welds. You have to be careful when you do that, not to put too much heat into that head. But yeah, we ground that down. We stripped all the decals off, and then we hand sanded just to rough that up a little bit. And the next step is we're going to tape off the fittings, take it off of that pallet, probably start painting it. But right now, we're going to go in the house, fire up Tinkercad, which is a three-dimensional software program for 3D printing. And we are going to start by printing the lens for the single eye on the Minion air tank. Yep, not the first one to be made, but hopefully it'll look a little different than any of the other Minion air tanks that you'll find on the internet. Here we go. All right, guys, here's a quick look at Tinkercad. We're going to resize this to be the diameter of our air tank. That's actually going to be our lens. We're going to resize that, position that, and we're going to make some adjustments here just so it looks more like a Minion. Move that eye up towards the top. Now that we have that, we're going to change the color, and we're going to make one a little bigger. That's actually going to be the front of the lens. We're going to center that up. Right now it is off center. We have a centering tool in Tinkercad. Now that that's centered up, we're just going to group that together, make that the color that I think it's going to be. This is going to be a screw detail. That's half of a circle. We're going to put that into position. And then once we do a couple of alignment things here, then we're going to grab a cube and we're going to resize that cube. This is actually known as a hole cube. And we're going to reposition that to make the slot on the screw. There, that looks good to me. We grouped that. Now we have a screw head. So now we're going to duplicate that screw head, but we're going to turn it on a 45-degree angle, and we're going to make a couple of those. They're going to be on 45, 90. So we're going to set our 90, 180, and the reverse 90, negative 90. I'm not sure, 270, I guess is what that is. And we set the rest of them on 45s from the 90s. And then we're going to grab that lens and we're going to center that up on the screw details. Then we're going to go through a whole bunch of fine tuning here. We're just going to move it back and forth until we're happy with the results, fine tune each one so that all of the edge surfaces are buried within the lens. So when we group that together, which we're getting ready to do right there, now we don't have any edges that are going to be sticking up. Now we're just going to resize that a little bit so it looks more appealing. We brought out a different cylinder. We made that a hole and cut that out of the center. Just going through this real quick. Now I have to center it on my tank, so that way when I cut the tank out of the lens, you'll see that, you know, it's centered up and it'll have the right curvature for the center of that tank. There's our finished product. We're going to flip that, set it down on the bottom, and then we're going to export that. We're going to rename it, I think, just here in a second. Just doing some resizing. There we go. Minion goggles version 2.0. We're going to export that. Then we're going to go into our file explorer. We're going to load it into Cura. Cura is actually the software that breaks out the 3D image into a 3D print. Had to resize it a little bit. Looking it over, making sure everything looks good. I better put some supports in there. So we're making some set point changes, changing the density. There's a whole bunch of stuff. If you guys have a 3D printer, it's going to take 1 day, 22 hours, and 39 minutes to print. And there are the layers. It's going to print layer by layer, and that's what it's going to look like. Finished product, pretty much right there, guys. So now we're going to transfer that onto a disc, and we're going to look at this one more time. Yep, everything looks good. That's what it's going to look like as it prints. The blue is actually the support material. All right, let's take a look at what we got here. So this is just a test print. We printed it just thick enough to hold its shape, but we have the curvature to fit our tank. So now we're going to pop it off of that plate, and we're going to take it out, hold it up against the tank. This is a little smaller in diameter than what we're going to use for the finished eye, and it is way, way shorter than the finished eye. But we did that just so it doesn't take very long to print. This only took maybe an hour to print. So now we're going to pop that off that plate and run it outside and see how it fits the tank. All right, the good news is we don't work for NASA. We're not headed to the moon. This is not a moon shot, but let's see how this thing fits. So yeah, that looks pretty good. In just a second here, I'm going to hold it away from the tank and show you an edge shot. So let's see. Yeah, there you can see it. All I did was I measured with a tape measure from edge to edge. That was 21 inches. And then as you've seen on Tinkercad, I made a 21-inch diameter cylinder. And then we started working on this. And yeah, it fits up there real nice. A little bit of a gap, but I can push that in. And we may not be straight with it either. But grab a little piece of tape, we'll hang it on there. This is actually smaller in diameter than the finished product is going to be. The finished product is probably going to be about 1 inch to 1.5 inches bigger in diameter. And then as you've seen, it's going to have screw details. It's going to have a little lens cover detail at the end of it. It's going to be a little larger. So yeah, let's glue this on with a piece of tape and I'll take a look at it. So we just have a little piece of painter's tape there to the top. Far cry from finished material. That's going to be a silver in color, and like I say, the tank will be yellow. But yeah, there's a look at what the Minion eye is going to look like on the Minion tank. The first coat of paint is on.